hide me from the rain light. And
He's taking us today to a quirky, nice tour in London. So literally London, like you've never seen it before. And this guy is as crazy as me, which is great. He's gonna show you something like which I like. It's not the predictable London. Especially like now London, it's where I live. And I want to know more about it in a quirky way. What's a Londoner?
And actually it's very interesting when you say what is a Londoner, because in a way there is no such thing. London has always been a cosmopolitan melting pot where everyone from everywhere comes. So even me, who would claim to be a proper Londoner. So I was born in London, my dad was born in London, his dad was born in London, but his dad was born in Cyprus.
Okay.
You understand? And,
yeah.
and his dad may be somewhere else. So even my heritage is, what is a Londoner? Is there such a thing? London is when you come and make it your home. It's when you become a Londoner.
That's it.
And anybody, London has the attitude that anybody can become a Londoner.
Of course.
When you take in
That's why I feel it no different. I can call myself, like I lived here for a long time, I can call myself Londoner and then I call myself English or anything else.
Yeah.
This is the most thing I can relate to.
You probably could not call yourself English.
No, I cannot.
But you could call yourself a Londoner.
Exactly.
This is amazing.
Exactly.
This is
so,
amazing.
like, you know, papers, all of this, passports, it will not change you. Like, even, okay, I have a British passport, an Egyptian passport, but at the end of the day, no matter what, I'm still Egyptian, though, you know?
Yeah.
I can stay here convincing you that I'm all English all day long. It's not gonna sink.
Yeah.
But through my accent, you'll realize, and my lifestyle, a way of living, that I'm a Londoner.
You are, man.
And this is what we want.
You're exactly.
So let's show these people what London is about.
What London is about.
Exactly. Being friendly, lifestyle, happy, enjoy your moment, choose the most precious thing in the city, live more, connect, life. Let's go, mate.
Beautiful.
Tony! Man, good to see you.
Really cool.
Good to see you again, man. Oh my goodness.
Pleasure.
Wow.
Well, I've just seen that you've been using one of these telephone boxes.
I was calling you, actually.
Well, I was just trying to ring you. I got your voicemail, you know.
Okay, I know my voicemail is quite tricky, but hey.
It was there, man. So just very, very quickly, just to talk about the shape of the London telephone boxes, but also just behind it, the shape of the London buses, and also the shape of the London taxis, as you're going to see. You're going to see that all three of these iconic London images have a round circle, and this is for a very particular reason. In the 1700s, so 1715, it was just becoming dark. All of the lights were going down. There was no electricity, so the only lights they had was gas lamps. Because they'd only just lit the lights, it meant the light quality was very bad.
Yeah.
As everyone was walking up this road, the Strand, they could see, walking this way, a monster. A giant, a titan, someone very, very scary, someone that was over 7 foot tall. Wow. All of these people ran to Charing Cross police station where they reported a giant is coming, a giant. The police came out of the police station and they arrested this man. 12 policemen jumped onto the monster, okay? When they jumped onto the monster and then they realised he wasn't a monster, it was just a human being, a man, they became very embarrassed. This man was wearing the world's first ever top hat. Okay, but because he was wearing the top hat with a cloak, in the dark, people thought it was a monster.
For me, I would think it's Dracula.
You think it was Dracula? Exactly.
Like
no one had ever seen something like this, okay? And obviously they became so embarrassed that they arrested him for wearing this hat. And so something that started off as an actual crime and started with this guy nearly being sent to prison, that went on. We became so popular, us wearing these hats, that they ended up shaping everything to fit the hat. So the telephone box ends here, but the roof went bigger so that you could step into the box and make your telephone call still with your hat. You could get into a taxi still wearing your hat. You could get onto a bus.
Okay, madam.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, girls. Sorry, girls.
Please, feel free.
Go on, please. We need some beauty. We need someone beautiful in this anyway.
Yeah,
so
I know.
bit of glam. There we go.
Guys, this is Benjamin Pollock's toy shop. Benjamin Pollock's toy shops date back to the 1830s, so you know, a good 175 odd years old. And as you're going to see, they stock old style toys, and that's quite unique in London. Most of the toys you're going to see around Xboxes, things like that. Spider-Man, exactly. Star Wars, as it is absolutely everywhere now.
Like Hamleys and all of this, they put all the new, like,
the
Toy Story,
fashion.
everything.
You've got it.
So it's like items.
This store is a little bit more vintage in terms of the type of toys they do, but that makes it very, very unique in London.
I can see this.
And as I say, dating back to the 1830s, where originally they would specialise in things like this. I don't know if you want to sort of come round and have a good look. But these would have been miniature toy theatres, and a long time before television.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day after eating dinner, you wouldn't sit down by the fire and watch television. There wasn't such a thing. Yeah, you would sit down and watch a performance given to you by your children. So these toys wasn't actually for young children. These were for teenagers, as I always say, the Xbox years.
Okay.
You know, the years where you lose your mind now on PlayStation. At the time, you would have had to have used your imagination. And not only used your imagination for your play, but there would have been a massive importance because you was going to entertain your family.
Yeah,
exactly, your parents were, that was your form of entertainment. But generally they was exact replicas of the nearby theatres.
Okay.
The idea being if you were too poor that you could never actually go to the
theatre. You can have a little theatre inside your home.
The biggest lovers of these toys was Charlie Chaplin, if you know this guy.
Of course, we
all know this guy. And if you look into his sort of biography, he states that as one of his biggest inspirations. He was given one of these when he was a child, but it was more than second-hand, so some of the dolls might be missing the head, and missing the arms, which meant not only...
he fixed it.
Well, he fixed it more with his imagination. I think that's the point, is that he couldn't afford, he was very, very poor. You understand, his family, his upbringing was very poor, so just to have one of them, he felt very lucky. But what he needed to do was he had to first imagine what the doll's head would look like. But not only that, he would then have to write a story that allowed you to imagine
it
what
like
the story
he sees it.
Exactly.
Do you know, funny enough about Charlie Chaplin's story, I heard before that there was like kind of in the theatre after he made it and everything, like, there is a theatre, they were auditioning to make like West End show for him or something like that. And they auditioned, and then he went to audition and they refused it.
And they literally refused it. He went to audition as the main character, Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, and he didn't say that it was him, and obviously the no moustache, the no hat, so it makes him completely different, a normal person.
Completely.
When he did it, they didn't recognize him and they didn't take it.
This is an amazing story. Maybe this will become part of my tour.
I'm Simon. I'm the manager.
Hi, Simon. To be honest, it's fascinating to see such a thing in London, in the heart of London, you know, keeping the tradition. And
well, this is London. This is London, you know, with everything that's happening. If you scratch the surface, and if you're lucky, you'll find places like this. We strive to give people what they want, you know, but at the end of the day, the aesthetic of the thing is that's what's going to make an effect on children when they become adults. And in this shop, because the shop has existed for so long, we have influenced actors, actresses, artists, fashion designers, writers, and it can, hopefully it will continue.
Yeah, me too.
You guys are doing a great job, to be honest. As I was looking in this little... It's just a paper, but it's not.
Well, I design those. I mean, there's a whole range of those. So these are all my work.
You can see it from every, like, to me, I can look at it from here. I see the rabbit talking to the girl. I go from here, I see something else.
Exactly.
I
You
go
look
from
inside. Yeah.
I can, you know.
And that just comes on a flat sheet of paper. And that's like the toy theatres. The toy theatres survived as long as they did because they were affordable and you could accommodate them into your life. So, for example, that one is that. So all you have, if you look at that, it's a flat piece of paper. You can afford it because it's a flat piece of paper. You put a little bit of work into it, and that's what you get. But have a look at the theatres at the back. Come and see these, because like I say, this is what we're all about, and this is where it all begins for us, you know. And so these were developed, first of all, they came from theatrical portraits. So very much like now, where people are obsessed with celebrity, the cult of celebrity. So it was in the Regency period when these first were born. And what would happen is you would go to see a play, fall in love with your idol, come out and buy a paper image of it. When children see them and they say, oh, you know, what's this? Oh, they don't know what it is. My best explanation is say these are like DVD players and DVDs before they were invented. That's all it is. It's like watching cinema. This is before cinema, like home cinema.
It's like, yeah, it's like your own like bedtime story for your.
Yeah, but it moves. That's the thing.
Of course.
But what's interesting with them, is it continues aesthetically. It continues a tradition. People love them when they have an element of having the past about them. And that's what I mean about influences throughout, you know, things resonate, because I think a good aesthetic is good aesthetic. And I think with a lot of electronic toys, because we are in a young age of electronic toys and the internet, a lot of the aesthetic leaves a lot to be desired, and I think at the end of the day, good aesthetic will find a way through. See, these are glued down because they're the shop model, but they're all moving, and the lights are flickering.
Okay,
yeah, it's very, very
proper
magical.
production.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
man, I salute you and congratulations on whatever
well,
you do.
we're glad you like it. We're glad you like it.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love this lady as well.
What, that one there?
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, hang on, she wants to say goodbye to you, so you'll have to shake her hand.
Of course.
She's come all the way from Hungary, so she'll say.
Of course.
Thank you very much for coming to see us. It's very nice of you.
Hello.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
So then, just as we're walking down, I always do like to point out Somerset House over on this side. Somerset House is still one of the oldest buildings in London. It's built in 1551. That makes it one of the oldest still standing buildings in London.
It says history.
It's got the history and everything. It was originally built for the Earl of Somerset. But when he built this, he built it to spend his last days in. But he built this at the cost of today's money, maybe £1 billion. And when he built this, it was at a time that London was suffering from many plagues, cholera. Everyone was poor, nobody had food, everyone was dying of starvation. And this guy came and built a £1 billion palace. The Londoners begged him, please, only build half a palace and put the other money to save London.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He ended up creating Somerset House for the cost of this £1 billion, and he moved in here. He spent 4 days sleeping here, and on the 4th day he came out and someone stabbed him.
What?
They stabbed him because he was building a palace
at
while
a time everybody's suffering.
while everyone else was suffering. So,
but to be honest, he should have had it coming.
He had it coming, and it's quite ironic that he says a palace to spend my last days. He did spend his last days, 4 days.
4 days.
And they
That's
killed
all you
him.
get. Just build a building for £1 billion.
Yeah.
Just to die in it.
Just to die in it, you know. So, but it also has one of London's only underground graveyards. Okay.
Is it public or just for anybody?
No, you can go down there. No public. It was just for the family of the Somersets.
Of the Somersets.
But the reason it was created is because the family were Catholic.
Okay.
In a time when we were creating the Church of England, which meant that if you was a Catholic, you wasn't allowed to be buried in a Christian church. Okay. Which meant all of the Catholic people had nowhere to put the dead, so they ended up burying them underneath this building, which started off as a crypt, but became so big that now it has to be called an underground graveyard. And you can go in there, but it does smell. So this is Waterloo Bridge. Waterloo Bridge is London's longest bridge at 400 metres, but if she doesn't mind me saying, it's also London's ugliest bridge. Okay. Now, when I say ugly, I mean they kept it very plain.
Very plain.
Whenever we build a bridge in London, we like to put a lot of detail.
Go all a lot creative and stuff.
We make it look pretty. We put colour.
I never realised that. I lived in London for such a long time, but I didn't see that before.
About Waterloo Bridge?
What? No,
it's the plainest bridge. It's the only bridge in London that they built to remain plain so that you get the view.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
Don't concentrate on the bridge because the view is the best of London. Okay?
And you get to see it without no distraction of construction
Exactly. It's the only bridge in London that you see completely both sides of London, if that makes sense. On every other bridge, you lose a part of London because of the curve. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're on this bridge, over on that side, you don't see this side. And if you're on that bridge, you don't see this side. But here, you get all the way down to the west of Parliament, and then all the way to the east of the business end, St Paul's Cathedral, the walkie-talkie, Canary Wharf.
أعزائي المشاهدين، لو أنتم مفكرين إن الرحلة انتهت، الرحلة لسه ما انتهتش. لندن كبيرة جدا وهوريها لكم بطريق مختلف، لأن أنا دلوقتي ابن البلد. ومش بس كده، أهلا بيكم مع ميكو وتوني. لسه الرحلة ما انتهتش. يا جدعان ما انتهتش. قلت لكم ما انتهتش.
On the Thames, there's actually a law that says that you're not allowed to put any advertisement. So when you look along, you will never see any advertisement boards, billboards, nothing like that. It's a law. When they built the Oxo Tower, the manager of Oxo, he designed this tower with the stained glass windows. When he opened the tower, the government approached him and said, hey man, we told you, you're not allowed to put advertisement. Yeah. And he very famously said, what advertisement? And they said, the windows. And he said, no, the windows are not an advertisement. And the government told him, yes, they spell Oxo. And he said, no, they don't. And he came out and famously, he looked up for the first time and said, well, I never realised. And it meant that he got around this law by not advertising, by just putting windows.
Yeah.
But because the windows say Oxo, that is a big advertisement.
And especially when you put the light on the night. What happened?
At the night, it comes up bright red. It comes
bright red, like it's a pure advertisement there, and you can see it out there, and it's very famous. And it was the way you cheated, you know, in the system, and it was amazing. And that's why, you know, I wanted the story to be told by a Londoner because it will taste much better.
This is the only road in the United Kingdom where it is the law that you drive on the other side of the road, okay? So the American way.
So, yeah, like to be honest, we got to be the only country in Australia and New Zealand, I think, and South Africa that drive in this road. Yeah. But it's so difficult to, like, just comprehend that this road is the only road.
It's the only road, man. And it's a law that was introduced for women. Okay, the only reason they introduced this law is because if a woman was sitting on this side of the road, the car, and it came in this way, she would have to get out, pick her dress, and then walk across the road. So they changed the law that they would drive this way, and she would get out of the car directly onto
door,
and that is
like this.
You've got it. And that is the only reason.
She gets up and then she goes.
And she's straight there. And that's the only reason they changed this law, which I think a lot of things in the world, we changed the law for the women.
Yeah.
We need to keep them happy, you know. 100%. I believe that. So.
No, it's honestly, it's amazing. So
I just wanted to sort of say, see you later on to him. Thank you, man.
Cheers, man. You want to go and see him?
No, he saw us, man.
Bless him, man. Thanks. Yeah, give him the old London style. Yeah. Safe, bruv.
Safe, bruv. Yeah, safe, bruv. Safe geezer.
Geezer, proper geezer, ain't it?
When you go throughout London, throughout Covent Garden in London, you're going to see the emblem, the coat of arms of the Duke of Westminster.
So
It's a W, yeah, exactly. Westminster. That's his family. You know, I'm sure he'll wear a Mason's ring on one finger, the Duke of Westminster ring on the other one, yeah. But that's not what the quirky thing that I want to point out. I think that's quite a usual thing for a proud man to put his sign on. The quirky thing is what's on the other side. And I'm not talking about the chewing gum either, you know?
No.
I'm talking about this company logo. Any ideas what this logo might be?
To be honest, I'm good with fashion, so I'm going to tell you that's Coco Chanel.
It's Coco Chanel, exactly. And this is the quirky thing. Why would Coco Chanel also be on a lamppost in the city of Westminster? Well, it's quite simple. From 1901 until 1912, the Duke of Westminster had a romance with Coco Chanel, where over his 11 years, he proposed 26 times for her hand in marriage. 26 times he proposed, 26 times she refused.
26 times.
26 times.
He doesn't give up?
He never gave up. It took him 5 years just to get her as the girlfriend. A real courageous man. Very proud, almost, I say. She didn't reject him because she didn't love him. She rejected him for a very simple reason. She was Coco Chanel. And Coco Chanel was a very powerful, self-made woman in a time that was dominated by men. And if she had have married the Duke of Westminster, she would have had to have changed her name from Coco Chanel to Coco, the Duchess of Westminster. And there was no way she was ever going to change this name that she'd built into her brand. Okay, so this is the Charles Dickens coffee shop. Not always called the Charles Dickens coffee shop, obviously, but nowadays it really should be the Charles Dickens coffee shop, because not only did he buy this shop, but he lived here from 1859 until 1870. The only reason he left in 1870 is because he died upstairs, okay? But upstairs was his final resting place of where he lived. He lived for the final 11 years of his life, basically. The official story about the Charles Dickens coffee shop is that he came here one day in 1859 and was so inspired by the beauty of the shop and so inspired by the beauty of this area that he decided to stay for 4 whole days without sleeping and just writing. He said it was the most inspired moment he's ever had in his life. Of the old days was extremely strong. Okay. Nowadays we roast coffee.
Yeah, he's just making Nescafe.
We make Nescafe, and it's a lot weaker by roasting. At the time, the coffee that we had here was traditional Turkish coffee. Now, traditional Turkish coffee should be so thick, as we say, you could put your spoon to stand up, okay? So I think more likely the story is that Charles Dickens came here this day in 1859, and rather than be inspired, he just drank a very strong coffee. And that's why
made him awake.
He didn't awake for 4 days where he just wrote. And I think it was more likely because he had a very, very strong coffee rather than he was inspired. Does that make sense? Yeah, just to quickly point out that obviously this shop has gone through many changes. It's completely modern now, but I feel like you can still, it's got the tininess to imagine Charles Dickens sitting in here writing his stories, other people talking about their stories, which were the stories that inspired him. Coffee shops, when they were first invented, were the birth of freedom of speech. Wow. You understand? We would come into these places away from the government, the door would be shut, and you'd be able to talk about finance, you'd be even able to talk about politicians. Before that, only politicians talked about politics.
Yeah, otherwise you have no right.
Common people didn't talk about it, but suddenly you would drink coffee, become very talkative, you understand, very active in your thinking.
Like even brain drunk.
Yeah, like a brain drunk. And if you look at the birth of the stock market, the birth of the stock exchange happened in a coffee shop in East London, where drinking coffee, I had a great idea, you agreed with my great idea, you understand?
And
everyone's like, this is brilliant, and we pushed things through. And I think that that's a really important to note about Charles Dickens at this time. He spent his most prolific 11 years in
this moment. He wrote more in 11 years at this place than he did in it. The only problem is that the coffee was so strong that it was almost like a drug. Okay, so if you look at those 11 years, everything he wrote is maybe not as good as what he wrote before. So he wrote more, but the content wasn't as good. Does that make sense? So,
what do you want to drink?